The photographer pulled me away from the edge of the dance floor just after my daughter finished the first half of her wedding portraits. "Mr. Delaney?" I turned. His name was Lucas Reed. Erin had hired him because one of her co-workers used him the year before and liked that his pictures looked like people instead of advertisements. He held his camera against his chest. "Can I show you something privately?" I looked past him toward the courtyard. My daughter was laughing with her new husband, Nathan Cole, while my granddaughter Molly tried to keep the wind from lifting the back of Erin's veil. "Is something wrong?" Lucas hesitated. "Sir, you need to see this." That was not a sentence I wanted to hear at my daughter's wedding. He led me through a side door into a narrow hallway between the reception room and the catering kitchen. The music became a dull thump through the wall. Lucas turned the camera around. The first image showed Nathan behind the greenhouse near the rear service drive. He was still in his tuxedo, jacket open, boutonniere slightly crooked. His arms were around a teenage boy. Not a quick greeting, not a handshake. Nathan was holding that kid the way a father holds someone who has been trying not to cry. The boy looked 16, maybe 17. Dark hair, white dress shirt with no tie, black pants that were too short at the ankle. He had both hands pressed against Nathan's back. I stared at the photograph. "Who is that?" "I was hoping you knew." "I don't." Lucas moved to the next image in the burst. Nathan had stepped back. The boy's face was visible now. Red eyes, tight jaw. In one hand he held a folded white envelope. Lucas enlarged it. There was one word written across the front in blue ink. "Dad." I looked at Lucas. "Nathan doesn't have children. I figured I should tell you why I'm showing you these." He moved to the next frame. Through the glass door behind Nathan, maybe 20 feet away, Erin stood inside the greenhouse corridor. My daughter was watching them. Her bouquet hung at her side. She was not smiling. "When did you take this?" 23 minutes before the ceremony. I checked my watch even though the answer was already useless. They had been married for nearly 2 hours by then. Guests were drinking bourbon lemonade under string lights. My wife Maggie was arguing with the caterer because somebody had put shrimp beside the dairy-free appetizers. Everything looked normal. That made the picture worse. That morning, Erin had squeezed my hand outside the bridal cottage and said, "Dad, today you were just my father. No principal voice, no interviewing Nathan, no checking whether anybody filled out the proper forms. I had promised." She smiled and said, "I mean it." So did I. I had no intention of spending her wedding looking for trouble. Trouble had apparently found its own photographer. "Why are you bringing this to me instead of Erin?" Lucas lowered the camera. "Because she's in the shot. And because when Mr. Cole saw me afterward, he asked if I had photographed the boy." "What did you say?" "I told him probably. I shoot wide when people are moving around the property." "And?" "He told me the kid wasn't part of the wedding and asked me to delete anything with him in it." "Did he say why?" "No." "Did you delete it?" Lucas gave me a small, uncomfortable smile. "I don't delete images because somebody asked me in the middle of an event, especially not when I don't know who they are." That was sensible. I had spent 31 years as a middle school principal before retiring, and one thing schools teach you is that adults who demand immediate deletion, immediate signatures, or immediate agreement are usually trying to get ahead of a question. That did not mean Nathan had done anything terrible. It meant I had a question. "What happened to the boy?" "He left through the rear lot." "Alone?" "I think somebody picked him up near the service gate. I was switching lenses." "Did he speak to Erin?" "I didn't see it." "But she saw him." "Yes." I asked Lucas to send me those 3 photographs after the wedding. Then I went back outside and watched my daughter dance with her husband. I did not confront anybody. That took more effort than I care to admit. 3 years earlier, after Erin's first marriage ended, she had accused me of treating every man in her life like an applicant for a job that required a background check. She was not entirely wrong. Her ex-husband Paul had left after 11 years of marriage. The divorce itself was ordinary by legal standards and ugly by family standards. No violence, no police, no hidden second wife. Just 2 people who had spent too many years becoming experts at disappointing each other. The hardest part was Molly. She was 10 when her parents separated. Nathan came into Erin's life about a year later. I distrusted him at first because that was my default setting by then. He was 42, a project manager for a commercial electrical contractor in Fairfax. Divorced once, no children. He did not come into the family trying to impress me. That helped. When Molly's science fair display collapsed in my garage, Nathan spent an hour helping her rebuild the cardboard supports, and never once took over the project. When Aaron's furnace quit during an ice storm, he found a service company instead of announcing that he could fix it himself. When Maggie had knee surgery, he brought dinner in disposable pans and left before anybody could thank him too much. Most important, he was patient with Molly. He attended soccer games without shouting instructions from the sideline. He learned which math homework questions made her shut down. He never told her to call him Dad. I had come to trust him slowly, which for me meant I trusted him more than I trusted people quickly. Now I stood 30 feet away from him with a photograph of another teenager holding an envelope marked Dad. Nathan caught me looking once. His expression changed for half a second. Then he smiled and raised his glass. I raised mine back. That was when I knew he was wondering what Lucas had shown me. After dinner, I found him alone near the coat room. Who was the boy behind the greenhouse? Nathan did not ask what boy. He looked toward the reception room before answering. His name is Caleb. Your son? No. Then why was he carrying an envelope that said Dad? Nathan pressed his lips together. He's my ex-wife's son. That was new. I knew Nathan had been married before. He had told us his ex-wife's name was Sarah and that the marriage ended about 5 years earlier. He had never mentioned a child. You were his stepfather? Yes. For how long? 9 years. That was not a casual relationship. How old was he when you married his mother? 4. I did the arithmetic. You helped raise him from 4 to 13. Nathan glanced down the hallway. Frank, this is not the time. It became the time when your wedding photographer showed me a boy calling you Dad. He shouldn't have shown you that. That is not your biggest problem with the picture. Nathan looked tired. He showed up uninvited. Why? I don't know. You hugged him like you knew exactly why. His jaw tightened. He was upset. Does Aaron know? Yes. That answer came too fast for relief. How much does she know? Everything that matters. I have heard that phrase from parents, teachers, lawyers, contractors, and teenagers. It usually means the speaker has decided which facts count. What happened between you and Caleb? Nathan rubbed his forehead. After Sarah and I divorced, there wasn't a legal relationship between me and him. I never adopted him. His biological father was still around. Was Caleb calling you Dad during the marriage? Yes. Did you ask him to stop after the divorce? No. Then why did he come here today? Nathan looked at me for several seconds. I told you, I don't know. I let the silence sit. Then I asked, why did you tell Lucas to delete the photographs? His face changed. Not much. Enough. Because Aaron didn't want this becoming part of the wedding. There it was. Not Nathan. Aaron. Before I could ask another question, my daughter came around the corner. She looked from Nathan to me. What are you two doing? Nathan said, your dad saw Caleb. Aaron closed her eyes. Not surprise. Recognition. I felt something settle heavily in my stomach. Who is he? I asked. Aaron looked at me. Nathan just told you. He told me Caleb is Sarah's son. He is. He also told me he raised him for 9 years. Aaron exhaled. Dad, please. Please what? Not tonight. I almost said exactly what I would have said when she was 20. If not tonight, when? Instead, I stopped. That surprised both of us. Maggie had spent 44 years teaching me that postponing an argument is not the same as losing it. So, I asked one question. Did you know he was coming? No. Nathan looked at her. It was quick. A glance. But I saw it. Aaron saw that I saw it. He wasn't invited, she said. That wasn't my question. I didn't know he was coming today. The word today bothered me. Had you spoken to him before today? Aaron's shoulders went stiff. Dad! Nathan stepped in. Frank, let us get through the reception. I looked at my daughter. She looked more frightened than angry. That mattered. Fine. I walked away. I danced once with Maggie. I gave the toast I had written the week before. I told the story about Aaron trying to build a birdhouse at age 9 and refusing to admit she had nailed the roof on backward. Everyone laughed. Aaron cried. Nathan put his hand on her shoulder. Nothing in the room looked false. That was the difficult part. People imagine deception as something that replaces ordinary life. Usually it lives right beside it. At 10:46, after Aaron and Nathan left beneath a tunnel of sparklers, Lucas found me again. I sent the files. Thank you. He hesitated. There's one more. He brought up another photograph. The timestamp was 1:14 that afternoon, more than an hour before the ceremony. Caleb was already on the property. He stood beside the old stone wall near the bridal cottage, and Erin was standing with him. No Nathan, no crowd. Just my daughter and the boy she had told me she did not know was coming. Her hand was on his forearm. In Caleb's other hand was the same white envelope marked Dad. I enlarged the image on my phone after Lucas sent it. Erin's face was clear. So was Caleb's. Whatever they were saying, neither looked surprised to see the other. That changed my question. I was no longer wondering why Nathan had hidden a former stepson from us. I was wondering why my daughter had lied to me about meeting him before she walked down the aisle. I was wondering why my daughter had lied to me about meeting him before she walked down the aisle. I did not call her that night. Maggie and I were staying at the same hotel as half the wedding guests, and she knew something was wrong before I took off my shoes. "You folded that pocket square 4 times, she said. I looked down. She was right. "What happened?" I handed her my phone. She looked at the photograph of Erin and Caleb beside the stone wall. Then the photograph of Nathan hugging him. Then the envelope. "Who is he?" "Nathan's former stepson." Maggie looked at me. "Former stepson? Raised him from 4 to 13. And we never heard about him." "No." She studied the pictures again. "What did Erin say?" "That she didn't know he was coming." Maggie enlarged the first photograph. "She appears to know he's standing there. That's the problem." "No, Frank." She handed me the phone. "That's one problem." After 44 years, my wife had developed an irritating talent for taking the sentence I thought was important and showing me the larger one beside it. "What's the other?" Nathan was a father to a child for 9 years, and somewhere between 13 and 17 that child disappeared from his life. He wasn't legally his father. "That isn't what you said." I sat on the edge of the hotel bed. "No. You said he raised him." "Yes." Maggie removed her earrings. "So don't turn this into catching Erin in a lie before you understand what everybody has been lying about." I looked at her. "I wasn't planning to. You were a principal for 31 years. You are always planning to." She was right often enough that I had learned not to waste energy denying it. The next morning, the wedding party had a brunch in one of the hotel conference rooms. Erin and Nathan were supposed to leave for Charleston afterward for 4 days before flying home. They arrived 15 minutes late. Molly came with them wearing Nathan's suit jacket over a t-shirt because apparently 17-year-olds could attend a post-wedding brunch dressed like they had escaped from 3 different events. She hugged me. "Grandpa, you survived. Barely." "Mom said you were suspiciously well-behaved yesterday." I looked at Erin. She looked away. That told me she had been thinking about our hallway conversation. I did not raise Caleb at brunch, neither did Nathan. We ate eggs that had been cooked sometime during a previous presidential administration and listened to relatives discuss traffic. Normal life has remarkable persistence. At 11:30, Erin found me outside near the hotel entrance. "Dad!" I stopped. She had changed out of her white post-wedding dress and into jeans. For the first time since Friday, she looked like my daughter instead of somebody at the center of an event. "You have the picture." "Yes." "Lucas sent it." "Yes." She folded her arms. "I did meet Caleb before the ceremony." "I know. I wasn't trying to lie to you. That sentence usually improves if you stop before the word trying." Her mouth tightened. "Can you not do that?" "Do what?" "Principal voice." I exhaled. "Fair." She looked through the glass doors toward the lobby. "Nathan doesn't know I met Caleb first." That was new. "He thinks the greenhouse was the first time you saw him yesterday." "Yes." "Why?" "Because I didn't tell him." "What did Caleb want?" "To give Nathan the letter." "The one marked Dad." "Yes." "Why not let him?" "Because it was our wedding day." That answer almost made sense. Almost. "How did Caleb know where the wedding was?" Erin looked at me. "I told him." There was the contradiction. You gave an uninvited teenager the location of your wedding, then acted surprised when he came. I didn't think he would come. What did you think he wanted the address for? He asked where we were getting married. That is not the same thing. I know. When? About 6 weeks ago. How did he contact you? Instagram. I stared at her. You've been talking to him for 6 weeks. Not talking, a few messages. What did he say? He asked if I was Nathan's fiancé. And? I said yes. Then? He asked whether Nathan ever talked about him. That question made me quieter. What did you tell him? The truth? Which truth? That Nathan had mentioned him. How often? Aaron looked away. Not much. I knew enough about pain to hear the softening. How much is not much? Dad, Nathan doesn't sit around telling stories about his ex-wife. I asked about Caleb, she sighed. Sometimes. What did Caleb ask after that? If Nathan hated him, I stopped. Even at 17, that is not a question a kid asks casually. What did you say? I said no. Did you tell Nathan Caleb contacted you? No. Why? Because Nathan was finally okay. The answer irritated me. Okay from what? Everything with Sarah, the divorce, losing Caleb, all of it. You just said he barely talks about him. That doesn't mean it didn't hurt. No, it did not. I had spent years watching boys sit in my office and pretend their father's missing birthdays did not bother them. Silence is not the same as absence of pain. Why keep it from Nathan? Aaron's voice lowered. Because I knew what would happen. You'd have to be more specific. He'd reach out. Caleb would get attached again. Sarah would get involved. There would be another round of promises and arguments, and then everybody would get hurt. Did Nathan tell you that? He told me the whole history. That wasn't my question. She looked at me. No. Did Nathan tell you he did not want Caleb contacting him? She hesitated. He said there was no point reopening it. When? Years ago. Before Caleb contacted you. Yes. I nodded. That distinction mattered. What did you tell Caleb about the wedding? Nothing at first. Then how did he get the location? He asked again last week. And you gave it to him? Yes. Why? Aaron pressed her lips together. I thought if he knew it was a wedding weekend, he'd understand why this wasn't the time. I stared at her. That logic does not survive daylight. I know that now. What happened yesterday? He messaged me around noon saying he was nearby. So you went out to meet him? Yes. What did you tell him? To go home. She said it quietly. Just like that? No. What exactly? That Nathan was getting married and this wasn't fair. To whom? To Nathan. To me. To Molly. There was my granddaughter. What does Molly have to do with it? Aaron looked toward the lobby again. She finally trusts him. That does not answer the question. It does to me. I waited. Aaron had spent the first 2 years after her divorce rebuilding Molly's belief that adults who said they would be there might actually show up. Paul loved his daughter. He also had a talent for promising Thursday and calling Friday with a reason. Work, traffic, a new relationship, a schedule misunderstanding. Nothing dramatic enough to call abandonment. Enough disappointments to teach a child not to leave the porch light on. Nathan entered that situation carefully. Molly resisted him for months. The first time he offered to drive her to soccer, she asked Aaron twice whether he was definitely coming. He came. After that, he kept coming. I understood why Aaron protected that stability. I did not understand why Caleb threatened it. Are you afraid Nathan having a relationship with Caleb means less for Molly? Aaron became defensive. That isn't what I said. No, I asked. She looked at me for several seconds. Maybe. There was honesty in that one. Then she said, You didn't see Nathan after the divorce. Neither did you. He told me. What? That every time Caleb called him Dad, Sarah used it against him. How? She said Nathan was confusing him, undermining his biological father, making the divorce harder. Was the biological father involved? Yes. How much? I don't know. That was the first answer that sounded clean. So Nathan backed away. He had no rights. That is a legal answer. It matters. It does. It doesn't tell me what he wanted. Aaron closed her eyes. He wanted to stay in Caleb's life. There it was. Then why didn't he? Sarah stopped letting him. Did she? Aaron opened her eyes. Yes. You know that, or Nathan told you that? He told me. I nodded. Have you ever asked Caleb? Her expression changed. No. At that moment, Nathan came through the doors carrying 2 coffees. He saw us, then looked at Aaron. What's going on? She said. Dad knows I met Caleb before the ceremony. Nathan stopped. The coffees remained perfectly level in his hands. You met him? Yes. When? Before you did. Nathan's face went pale. You told me you hadn't seen him. I know. When did you know he was coming? I didn't know until he messaged me. Nathan set both coffees on the concrete ledge. What did you say to him? Aaron looked away. Aaron, I asked him to leave. Nathan stared at her. I watched the change in his expression. Not anger first. Hurt. That mattered. You sent him away? I tried. Why? Because you were getting married. To you? Yes. And that means what? It means I didn't want your past walking into the ceremony 20 minutes before we said our vows. Nathan stepped back. My past. You know what I mean? No. His voice stayed quiet. I actually don't. Erin crossed her arms. You told me Sarah made it impossible. She did. You told me Caleb stopped answering you. He did. You told me there was no point reopening it. Nathan looked at her. That was 4 years ago. So he showed up yesterday, after contacting me. Nathan became completely still. He contacted you before yesterday? The air between them changed. I said nothing. Aaron whispered, yes. How long? 6 weeks. Nathan stared at her. 6 weeks. I was trying to figure out what he wanted. You could have asked me. I knew what you'd do. What? You'd drop everything. Nathan gave a short laugh with no humor in it. For a kid I raised? There. That. Aaron pointed at him. That is what I was afraid of. Nathan looked stunned. What exactly were you afraid of? That we would start our marriage with you feeling responsible for another family again. Caleb is not another family. What is he then? Nathan answered before thinking. My son. The words hung there. Aaron's eyes filled. Nathan looked as surprised by them as she did. Then he said more quietly, he was. That correction hurt worse. I watched my daughter's face. For the first time, I understood that this was not only a secret Nathan had carried into the marriage, it was a relationship Aaron had already decided how much room their marriage could afford. Nathan picked up one coffee, then put it back down. What did Caleb say to you? Aaron hesitated. He asked if you meant it. Meant what? I don't know. Nathan looked at her. You don't know? He kept asking whether you meant what you told him before the divorce. Nathan's face changed. What words? He said you promised he wouldn't lose you. Nathan stopped breathing for a second. I saw it. Aaron saw it too. What did you tell him? Nathan asked. I told him things changed. You told him that? I told him you had a different life now. Nathan stared at my daughter as if he had discovered a door in his own house that someone else had been locking. Then he asked the question that gave me the first real reason to doubt the story we had all been using. Aaron, why would Caleb ask whether I meant that promise if Sarah told him all these years that I didn't want contact? Aaron said nothing. Nathan continued, because that's what she told me. She said Caleb wanted me to stop calling. I looked at him. When did Caleb tell you that? He didn't. Who did? Sarah. That was the answer I expected. Then Nathan added something I did not. And yesterday when I asked Caleb why he came, he said, because you finally answered me. Aaron looked at him. Nathan looked at her. I said, answered what? Nathan reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of white paper. The envelope marked Dad was no longer sealed. Inside was a printed copy of an email. At the top was Nathan's old address. At the bottom was a reply sent only 3 months earlier. Nathan handed it to me. The response was short. Caleb, I'm glad you're doing okay, but I think it's better if we leave things where they are. I have a family now, and I need you to respect that. It was signed Nathan. He looked at Aaron. I never wrote this. I never wrote this. Nathan's voice was low enough that I almost thought I had misheard him. Aaron took the paper from my hand. Are you sure? He looked at her. Am I sure I didn't tell a kid I raised for 9 years that I have a new family and he should stay out of my life? That isn't what I meant. I know what you meant. Nathan took the email back. The reply had been sent from an address I recognized only because it contained his full name and birth year. He told me it was the Gmail account he had used before the divorce. I barely use this anymore. When did you stop? I asked. 5 years ago? Maybe 4. Can you still get into it? I think so. Aaron said, Nathan, we're supposed to be leaving in 20 minutes. He looked at her. For Charleston? Yes. You think we're getting in a car and going on a honeymoon now? Her face tightened. I think we should not blow up our entire weekend over an email we haven't even verified. That boy came to our wedding because of this email. I know. He thinks I wrote it. I know. And you knew he had been trying to reach me. Aaron looked at the pavement. Yes. Nathan folded the page and put it back into the envelope. Where is Caleb? I don't know. Do you have his number? Aaron hesitated. Nathan laughed once, not loudly. You've been messaging him for 6 weeks. Yes. Do you have his number? He gave it to me yesterday. Give it to me. She looked at him. Nathan. Aaron. I stepped back. That part was theirs. She unlocked her phone and read the number aloud. Nathan entered it. He did not call immediately. Instead, he opened the envelope again. I haven't read the rest. Neither Aaron nor I spoke. The letter inside was handwritten. Nathan read it standing beside a hotel planter while newly married relatives came through the automatic doors 20 feet away. I watched his face. At first, nothing. Then his mouth tightened. Halfway down the page, he sat on the concrete ledge. Aaron moved toward him. He raised one hand without looking up. She stopped. After a minute, he handed the letter to me. I did not read every word. Some things belonged to him. Enough was visible. Caleb wrote that he remembered Nathan teaching him to ride a bicycle in an apartment parking lot. He remembered building a Pinewood Derby car together. He remembered Nathan sitting outside his bedroom after his mother and biological father had one of their custody arguments. He remembered asking Nathan at 12 whether a divorce meant Nathan would stop being his dad too. Nathan had apparently answered, not because a judge changes paperwork. Then the marriage ended. Calls became fewer. Visits stopped. Caleb wrote that his mother told him Nathan needed distance. Later she said Nathan had moved on. Caleb sent birthday emails anyway, Christmas messages, a photograph when he made varsity baseball. Nothing came back. Then, 3 months before the wedding, he received the reply telling him to leave things alone. The letter ended with a sentence that made me stop. I'm not asking you to be my dad again. I just needed to know if you ever meant it when you were. I handed it back. Nathan sat with his elbows on his knees. Aaron whispered, I didn't know. He looked at her. You knew enough to send him away. Her face collapsed. I thought I was protecting you. Nathan closed his eyes. Nobody said anything for several seconds. Then I asked, can we verify the email account before deciding who did what? Nathan looked up. That was my old principal habit showing itself in a useful way. When 2 students came into my office with opposite versions of a fight, the worst thing I could do was decide which child looked more convincing. You checked the hallway camera. You asked who else was there. You looked at the time. Then you listened again. Nathan took out his phone. He tried the old Gmail password. Wrong. He tried another. Wrong. Then he pressed account recovery. The screen offered to send a verification message to a phone number ending in 4428. Nathan stared at it. Whose number is that? I asked. He did not answer immediately. Sarah's. Aaron looked at him. Your ex-wife is still the recovery number? I haven't used this account in years. Would she know the password? She used to. There was our first working theory. Simple, plausible, too early to trust. Nathan tried another recovery option. A backup email address appeared partially hidden. First letter S, domain visible. He recognized it. Also, Sarah's. Aaron said, so she could have written it. Nathan did not answer. I asked, could anyone else? Maybe, if they had the password. Did you and Sarah share devices? Back then? Yes. What happened to the old laptop? She kept it. Aaron crossed her arms. There. Nathan looked at her. There what? She did it. We don't know that. Who else would? That is exactly why we don't know. I liked that answer. Aaron did not. She spent years keeping Caleb away from you. Nathan stood. That's what she told me she was doing. What does that mean? It means I know what Sarah told me. I don't know what she told Caleb. That was the first time I heard him separate those two things. It should have happened years earlier. Nathan called Caleb. Voicemail. He did not leave a message the first time. He hung up. Then tried again. Voicemail. This time he said, Caleb, it's Nathan. I read your letter. I did not send that email. I need you to hear that from me. You don't have to call me back today, but I'm giving you my current number. It's mine. Nobody else answers it. He repeated the number, then stopped. His voice broke slightly. And I meant what I said when you were 12. He hung up. Erin turned away. I thought she might cry. Instead, she said, "What if Sarah hears that?" Nathan stared at her. "I'm sorry. Caleb still lives with her. He's 17. Exactly. What are you asking me to do?" "I'm asking you not to make this worse before we know what happened." Nathan looked at me, not for support, more like he needed to check whether he was hearing the same words I was. I said, "Erin, worse for whom?" She became angry. "For everybody. That's not a person. My husband, Caleb, Sarah, Molly. Molly still has not done anything in this story. She will be affected. By Nathan talking to someone who used to call him Dad? By whatever comes after." Nathan said quietly, "You really are afraid of him." "I am not afraid of a 17-year-old. No. You're afraid there's only so much family to go around." Erin's eyes filled. "That is unfair. Is it wrong?" She did not answer. A hotel employee came outside and told Erin the bags from the bridal suite had been brought down. The honeymoon apparently remained scheduled even if the marriage had already found its first locked door. Nathan told the employee to leave them at the desk. Then he said, "I'm not going to Charleston today." Erin looked at him. "You're canceling our honeymoon?" "I'm postponing 4 days at a hotel. Because Caleb appeared yesterday. Because you were in contact with him for 6 weeks and didn't tell me. That's different." "Yes." He looked at the envelope. "It is." That was the first meaningful consequence. Not divorce, not shouting, a postponed trip. Sometimes the believable damage is smaller than the dramatic one and hurts more because everybody understands why it happened. Maggie and I stayed another night. I did not want to be involved. That statement deserves qualification. I wanted very badly to be involved. I simply knew involvement was not the same as control. Nathan asked whether he could use our hotel room for an hour, while Erin went upstairs to call Molly. We sat near the window. Maggie read Caleb's letter only after Nathan offered it. When she finished, she asked, "When did you last speak to him before yesterday?" Nathan looked embarrassed. "Almost 4 years ago." "Phone?" "Yes." "How did it end?" "Badly." "What happened?" He rubbed his hands together. "Sarah called me first. She said Caleb was struggling every time I visited. His biological father, Mark, was trying to rebuild the relationship. She said having me around made Caleb feel like he had to choose." "Did Caleb say that?" "No." "Did you ask him?" "I tried." "What did he say?" "He said he didn't want everybody fighting." That sounded like a 13-year-old. Nathan continued. "I asked if he wanted me to keep calling." "What did he say?" "He said, 'I don't know.'" Maggie looked at me. I knew why. Adults hear "I don't know" from children and often convert it into whichever answer makes adult life easier. "What did you do?" I asked. "I told him I'd give him space." "How much?" Nathan looked toward the window. "Too much." "Did you call again?" 3 times over the next month." "Did he answer?" "No." "Messages?" "Yes." "Responses?" "No." Then, Sarah texted me and said he wanted me to stop. There was the second key piece. Not Caleb. Sarah. "What exactly did she write?" Nathan took out his phone. "That text is on an old phone." "Do you still have it?" "In a drawer at home." "Virginia?" "Yes." Maggie said, "Then don't remember it. Read it when you get home." Nathan nodded. "Good." Memory becomes dangerous when people need it to prove they were right. An hour later, Caleb finally texted him. Only 6 words. "Did you really not send it?" Nathan showed us. He wrote, "I did not." Then another message came. "Did you get my other emails?" Nathan typed, "No." "How many?" The answer took almost a minute. "A lot." Nathan stared at the screen. Then, "Since I was 14. Nathan looked sick. He asked Caleb to forward everything. Within 10 minutes, the old Gmail account began receiving forwarded copies to Nathan's current address. Birthday messages, short ones, longer ones. One from Caleb's freshman year saying he had made the baseball team. One asking whether Nathan still had the fishing pole they used at Lake Anna. One written after Caleb's grandfather died. Another simply saying, "I don't know if you see these, but I hope you're okay." There were 11 messages over 3 years. Nathan had received none of them in his active account. Then came the reply from 3 months earlier, the one he denied writing. I started comparing the email addresses. That was when I noticed something. The message Caleb had originally sent was addressed correctly to Nathan's old Gmail account. The reply came from that same account, but at the bottom of the reply, beneath Nathan's name, was an automatic signature. Sent from my iPad, Nathan looked at it. I never had an iPad. Aaron said immediately, Sarah does. Again, plausible. Again, not proof. Nathan forwarded the original message headers to himself so someone more knowledgeable could look at them later. Then Caleb sent one more screenshot. It was not an email, it was a text conversation with his mother 3 months earlier. Caleb had written, Nathan finally answered me. Sarah replied, I'm sorry, honey. Maybe now you can stop waiting for something he already chose to leave behind. Nathan read it twice. That sounds like she knew. Aaron said, because she did. I looked closer. Maybe. But there was something else. Caleb told her after he received it. Nathan looked at me. So this message proves she knew about the reply after Caleb told her. It does not prove she sent it. Aaron gave me an irritated look. Dad, how many coincidences do you need? Fewer than you think. More than one. Nathan put the phone down. My working theory was still Sarah. She had the recovery number, the backup email, possibly the old laptop. She had once asked Nathan to step away from Caleb, and when Caleb received the rejection, she encouraged him to stop waiting. That was enough to investigate her, not enough to accuse her. Then Caleb sent another forwarded email, older than the others, 4 years old, written 2 weeks after Nathan said Sarah told him Caleb wanted no more contact. The subject line was simply, Are you mad at me? Nathan opened it. Caleb had written, Mom said you think it would be better if we don't talk for a while. I didn't mean that when I said I didn't know. I just didn't want Mom and Mark fighting with you. Nathan lowered the phone. Nobody spoke. For 4 years, he had believed a 13-year-old wanted him gone. For 4 years, Caleb had believed Nathan had chosen to leave. One of those beliefs had been manufactured somewhere between 2 adults, and the recent forged email was beginning to look less like an isolated lie than the latest piece of a much older one. Nathan read the message again. Then he handed me his phone and said, I want the old one. The old phone? Yes. Aaron looked at him. Nathan, you haven't even been home since the wedding. I know where it is. You're going back to Virginia now? Yes. She stared at him. What about us? He did not answer immediately. That was answer enough to make her face change. Maggie stepped in before either of them said something they would have to carry longer than necessary. Go home, she told Nathan. Read what you actually have. Don't fill 4 years with guesses in a hotel room. Nathan nodded. Aaron said, I'm coming with you. He looked at her. Why? Because I'm your wife. You were my wife yesterday when you sent Caleb away. She flinched. Nathan closed his eyes. I'm sorry. No, you're not. I'm sorry I said it like that. That was more accurate. Aaron folded her arms. I'm still coming. Nathan looked at me. I said, that is between the two of you. Maggie gave me a look that meant I had finally said something useful. They left shortly after noon. The honeymoon bags went into Nathan's SUV without ever reaching Charleston. Maggie and I checked out an hour later. We had driven less than 20 miles when Nathan called. Frank, can I ask you something? You just did. There was a pause, then a short laugh. I walked into that. What do you need? I found the phone. You're already home? Aaron drove. That told me something about the ride. What did the text say? I haven't opened it yet. Why are you calling me? Because I'm not sure I trust my memory anymore. That was one of the more intelligent things anybody had said since the photographer pulled me aside. Read it exactly. I heard movement. Then Nathan said, August 18th, 4 years ago, Sarah to me. He took a breath. Nor, I talked to Caleb. Please stop calling for a while. Every time you reach out, he gets upset afterward. He told me he wants space and wants to focus on rebuilding things with Mark. I know this hurts, but you need to respect what he's asking for. I remembered Caleb's forwarded email, written 2 weeks later. Mom said you think it would be better if we don't talk for a while. I didn't mean that when I said I didn't know. 2 versions traveling in opposite directions. What did you reply? I asked. Nathan read it. If that's really what he wants, I'll give him space. Tell him I love him. And Sarah? I will. Did she? I don't know. Anything after? A week later, I asked how he was. What did she say? Doing better. Please don't stir this up again. I looked through the windshield. Maggie was driving. She had insisted after noticing I kept replaying wedding photographs at stoplights. "Keep going," I said. Nathan scrolled. "There's one from October. I asked if I could send him a birthday gift." "What did she say?" "I think that would confuse him. He's finally settling into the new normal." "Did you send one?" "No." The shame in his voice was obvious. I did not rescue him from it. "What about Christmas?" "I mailed a card." "To Caleb?" "Yes." "Where?" "Sarah's house." "Did he ever mention it?" "No." "Anything from Sarah?" "No." That gave us evidence of separation. It did not yet prove who had manufactured it. "Check Caleb's forwarded emails against those dates." I heard Erin in the background. "I already did." Her voice sounded close to the phone. Nathan said, "She's looking." A moment later, Erin spoke. "Caleb emailed Nathan on October 21st. The birthday?" "Yes." "What did he write?" She hesitated. "I guess Mom was right that you don't want to talk. I just wanted to say, I'm not mad." Nathan made a sound I could not identify. Erin continued more quietly. Then, December 26th. "Merry Christmas. I thought maybe you'd send the card you used to send every year." Nathan said, "I did." Nobody spoke. Somewhere between Virginia and whatever server held Nathan's old Gmail account, a 13-year-old boy had waited for a card that was apparently mailed. Whether Sarah intercepted it, it got lost, or somebody else threw it away, we did not know. But the pattern was no longer one misunderstanding. Nathan had been told Caleb wanted silence. Caleb had been told Nathan chose silence. Both had tried, at least occasionally, to reach through it. Neither knew the other had tried. "What do you want to do?" I asked. Nathan answered immediately, "Call Sarah." Erin said, "I don't think that's smart." The speed of her response bothered me. Nathan heard it too. "Why?" "Because if she did this, calling her gives her time to erase things." Nathan went quiet. That was not a foolish point, but it was a strange one from someone who, 24 hours earlier, wanted everyone to wait until after the honeymoon. I said, "Do you have access to the old Gmail account yet?" "No, recovery still goes to Sarah." "Then you already need something from her." Nathan said, "I could contact Google." "You can try account recovery first without accusing anybody." Erin interrupted. "What if the login history is gone?" "I don't know," I said, "but guessing about what a provider keeps is less useful than asking." Nathan said, "I'm calling Sarah." He hung up. Maggie waited 10 seconds. "She knows something." "Who?" "Erin." I looked at her. "Based on?" "The way she said Sarah might erase things. That could just be common sense." "It could." "You think it isn't." "I think your daughter has been 6 weeks ahead of Nathan in this story and keeps revealing facts only when somebody else forces the next door open." I did not like the sentence, mostly because I could not argue with it. Nathan called back 40 minutes later. Sarah had answered. He put us on speaker with Erin in the room. "What did she say?" I asked. Nathan sounded drained. "She said she never sent the recent email." "What about the old messages?" "She says those were accurate." "Accurate how?" "She says Caleb was having anxiety after contact with me." "Did he tell her he wanted you gone?" "She says not in those words." There was the first retreat. "What words?" Nathan replied. "She said he told her he couldn't handle everybody fighting over him." "That matches what you remember him saying." "Yes." "What about the message where she told you he specifically wanted space?" "She says that was her interpretation." I closed my eyes. An adult interpretation had turned a child's uncertainty into a decision. "Why?" Nathan took a breath. "Mark had just started seeing Caleb regularly again. Sarah thought if I stayed heavily involved, Mark would pull back." "Did Mark say that?" "Yes." "That was new?" Nathan continued. "Apparently Mark told her he couldn't figure out how to be Caleb's father, while Caleb was still calling me dad." Maggie shook her head. "Not because it was impossible, because adults can turn their own discomfort into remarkable rules for children." "What did Sarah want?" I asked. "She wanted Mark to stay involved." That made sense. Caleb's biological father had been inconsistent for years. If Mark was finally showing up, Sarah could have genuinely believed reducing Nathan's role would give father and son a chance. Wrong method. Recognizable motive. "Did she admit telling Caleb you wanted distance?" Nathan was quiet. "Yes." That mattered. "She says she told him I was stepping back because I thought it would be easier." "Did you ever tell her that?" "No." "So she translated your compliance into your choice?" "Yes." There was the second contradiction. Sarah had not simply carried messages badly, she had improved both sides until each sounded more definite than it was. To Nathan, Caleb wants space. To Caleb, Nathan thinks space is best. Nobody had to reject anybody directly. Sarah could keep Mark involved. Caleb could stop being pulled between men. Nathan could be moved out without a confrontation, a terrible solution that might have felt efficient to someone exhausted by years of custody conflict. What about the old Gmail password? I asked. Nathan said, she admits she had it. Still does? She says no. Recovery number? She forgot it was still hers. Backup email? Same answer. Old laptop? She still has it. That was enough to keep Sarah at the center of my theory. Then Nathan said, but there's a problem. Of course there was. What? Sarah says she hasn't opened that Gmail account in years. Can she prove it? She says no. Then that isn't the problem. Nathan went quiet. Aaron spoke instead. The problem is, Caleb sent me the fake email before the wedding. I looked at Maggie. When? 6 weeks ago. That aligned with Aaron's original timeline. What did you do with it? Nothing. Aaron, I asked Caleb where it came from. And? He said Nathan's old account. Did you show Nathan? No. We knew that. What did you do? I contacted Sarah. Nathan said, you what? The anger in his voice was immediate. Aaron spoke faster. I needed to understand what was happening. When? I asked. The same day Caleb first messaged me. So, 6 weeks ago, you had a copy of an email Nathan supposedly wrote rejecting a boy he raised, and instead of asking Nathan if he wrote it, you contacted his ex-wife. Yes. Why Sarah? Because I thought Caleb might be manipulating me. Nathan said, he was 16 when that email was sent. 17? That improves it? I didn't know him. You didn't ask me. I know. What did Sarah say? Aaron became quiet. Aaron. She said Nathan had made it clear years ago that he wanted distance. Nathan laughed bitterly, using the story she invented. I didn't know that then. What else did she say? Aaron hesitated. She said Caleb had started romanticizing your relationship. Nathan went silent. Romanticizing. She said he was remembering only the good parts. I raised him from 4 years old. I know. No, apparently everybody knows that except the people who think it counts. Aaron began crying. I said, what did Sarah tell you about the recent email? She said she assumed Nathan sent it. Assumed? Yes. Did you ask whether she still had access to his old account? No. That surprised me. Why not? Because I didn't know his recovery information then. Fair. What did you do after speaking to Sarah? I told Caleb that Nathan had moved on. Nathan went quiet again. I remembered Aaron saying almost the same thing outside the hotel. A different life now. A new family. Words close enough to the forged message to bother me. Did you tell Caleb you had spoken to Sarah? No. Did you tell him you had not spoken to Nathan? Another silence. No. I felt something tighten behind my ribs. What did you let him believe? Aaron whispered. That I knew how Nathan felt. Nathan said nothing. That silence was worse than shouting. I asked, did Caleb send you the older emails too? Some? How many? 4. When? The first week. So Aaron had seen, before her wedding, evidence that Caleb had been writing Nathan for years. Evidence that the teenager believed he had been abandoned. Evidence that the recent rejection came from an account Nathan rarely used. And she still decided not to ask the man she was about to marry whether any of it was true. Why? I asked. Aaron's voice cracked. Because I was scared if I opened it, I wouldn't be able to close it again. Nathan finally spoke. You mean Caleb? No. Then what? Our life. The word landed harder because it was honest. I had Molly finally feeling stable. You and I were getting married. We had a house, plans, everything had stopped feeling temporary. And Caleb made it temporary. He made me realize there was a whole part of you that could come back into our lives and change everything. Nathan said quietly, he didn't come back. He was still there. Aaron cried harder. I know that now. No. Nathan's voice stayed controlled. You knew enough 6 weeks ago to ask me. She did not answer. That was where my theory weakened. Sarah still had the strongest reason and the easiest access to forge the email, but Sarah's actions no longer explained the entire wedding mystery. My daughter had not merely stumbled into an old family secret, she had been holding pieces of it before she put on her wedding dress. She had seen evidence that Nathan and Caleb might have been separated by lies, and instead of verifying it, she had made the same choice Sarah made years earlier. She decided for both of them that silence would be easier. That was harder to admit than I expected. Not because Aaron had become the villain. She hadn't. Sarah had spent years turning a boy's uncertainty into a decision he never made. Aaron had spent 6 weeks doing something disturbingly similar for reasons that were different enough to feel respectable to her. That distinction mattered. It did not make the result harmless. Nathan ended the call first. "I need some time," he said. Aaron answered, "That's what I've been trying to tell you. I wasn't talking to you." Then the line went dead. Maggie kept driving. I stared at the highway for several miles. Finally, she said, "Don't call anybody. I wasn't going to. You're holding your phone." I often hold my phone. You're holding it like a principal who has just discovered 3 eighth graders lied about a fire alarm. I put it in the cup holder. 5 minutes later, it rang. "Aaron." Maggie gave me a look. I didn't call her. "I know," I answered. My daughter was crying. "Dad, can you talk to him?" "No. You don't even know what I'm asking. You want me to tell Nathan not to do something." Silence. Then, "He wants to go see Caleb." That sounds like something Nathan and Caleb should decide. Sarah says Mark is furious. That was new. What does Mark have to do with it? He's Caleb's father. Biologically. He's been involved again for years. So he called Nathan after Sarah told him what happened. He said Nathan is not going to come back into Caleb's life and blow everything up. I looked at Maggie. She could hear enough through the car speakers. What did Nathan say? That Caleb is old enough to decide whether he wants to speak to him. That seems reasonable. Dad, you're doing exactly what Nathan is doing. What? Reducing everything to one sentence that sounds reasonable. I disliked the accusation because there was some truth in it. Aaron continued. Caleb lives in Sarah's house. Mark has been trying to rebuild a relationship with him for years. Nathan and I just got married. Molly is already asking questions. Everybody is emotional. What is Molly asking? Another pause. Why Nathan never told her about Caleb? What did you tell her? That it was complicated. Accurate. She thinks Nathan hit a son. He didn't. I know that. Does she? Yes. How? I explained. I waited. What did you explain, Aaron? That Nathan was Caleb's stepfather. For 9 years. Yes. And that Caleb called him Dad. Yes. And that Nathan wanted to remain involved after the divorce. She became quiet. Some of it. That phrase again. Does Molly know you were talking to Caleb before the wedding? No. I closed my eyes. Why not? Because she does not need another adult problem dumped on her. She's 17. That doesn't make her responsible for fixing this. I agree. Then stop making it sound like every withheld fact is manipulation. I let that sit. She had a point. Not every truth belongs to every person immediately. A teenager does not need a transcript of every argument in her mother's marriage, but I had learned enough in 31 years around children to know that adults often confuse privacy with controlling the story. What do you want me to tell Nathan? Tell him to wait. How long? A few days? For what? For everyone to calm down. Caleb waited 4 years. That's not fair. No, it isn't. I mean using that against me. I'm not, she cried harder. I am trying to keep this from becoming another custody war. He's 17. Nathan has no custody rights. That doesn't mean the adults can't fight. No argument there. Then Aaron said something that changed my position slightly. Dad, Nathan told Caleb he might drive down tonight. Did Caleb invite him? I don't know. That mattered a lot. Nathan wanting to see Caleb was understandable. Showing up at Sarah's house because 4 years of pain suddenly became urgent was something else. I'll talk to him, I said. Aaron exhaled. Thank you. Do not misunderstand me. I'm not telling him to leave Caleb alone. I know. Do you? Yes. I was not certain. After we hung up, Maggie said, Be careful. With what? Becoming the reasonable man everybody uses to stop the uncomfortable thing. I looked at her. You know, marriage would be easier if you were wrong more often. I've considered it, Nathan answered on the 3rd ring. He sounded like he was in his garage. I'm packing a bag. Did Caleb ask you to come? Silence. No. Did he say he wants to see you? He came to my wedding. That was yesterday. So ask him today. Nathan exhaled sharply. Frank, I already lost 4 years waiting for everybody else to tell me what he wanted. Then don't ask everybody else. That stopped him. Ask Caleb, I texted. And? No answer. How long? 20 minutes. That is not an answer either. Nathan did not like that. I could hear it. I'm supposed to sit here? For now, yes. Why? Because there is a difference between refusing contact and not answering within 20 minutes while his mother and biological father are probably arguing about you. He became quiet. I continued. Send one message. Tell him you want to see him when he is ready. Tell him you will not arrive uninvited. Then stop. For how long? That was where I made my mistake. A day or two. I heard myself say it. It sounded responsible, measured, adult. Nathan said, all right. He sent the message while we were still on the phone. A minute later, Caleb answered. Nathan read it aloud. You keep saying you want me, and then you need space. I felt my stomach tighten. Another message came. It's okay. I shouldn't have gone yesterday. Nathan typed quickly. Wait, I said. Too late. What did you send? That's not what I mean. Caleb replied. It never is. Then nothing. Nathan called. Voicemail. Called again. Voicemail. I sat very still in the passenger seat. My advice had been sensible if the history began yesterday. It did not. To me, 48 hours meant cooling down. To Caleb, it sounded like the same adult language that had preceded 4 years of silence. Nathan said, You told me to wait. I did. You were wrong. Yes. He went quiet. Most people expect an argument after that sentence. There wasn't one. I had been wrong. I was thinking about preventing another adult fight, I said. I wasn't thinking about what delay means to him, Nathan breathed out. What do I do? Don't chase him with 10 messages because we feel guilty. So wait again. No, be clear, Nathan wrote. I'm not asking for space from you. I'm trying not to show up somewhere you didn't invite me. If you want to see me tonight, tomorrow, or next week, tell me where. I'll come. If you don't want to see me, I will respect that too. I am not disappearing. He sent it. No answer. That was the setback. Not dramatic. No door slammed. No police. A 17-year-old simply stopped responding because the adults around him had trained him to hear hesitation as abandonment. Later that afternoon, Sarah called me. Aaron had given her my number. I almost refused the call. Maggie said, Answer it. Listen more than you speak. Sarah's voice sounded older than I expected. Tired. Mr. Delaney, I'm sorry you got dragged into this. I'm not sure dragged is the right verb. No, she sighed. Probably not. She did not deny what she had done 4 years earlier. That surprised me. I thought I was helping Caleb by telling Nathan he wanted space. Yes. Did he? He wanted the fighting to stop. That is not the same thing. I know that now. Did you know it then? She took a long time. I knew I was simplifying. That was honest enough to hurt. Sarah explained Mark had been in and out of Caleb's life since he was little. When Nathan married her, Mark was seeing Caleb perhaps once every month or two, sometimes less. Nathan became the person who attended school conferences, drove to practices, helped with homework, and stayed home when Caleb had strep throat. Then, near the end of Sarah and Nathan's marriage, Mark began showing up more consistently. I wanted that for Caleb, Sarah said. So you reduced Nathan. I thought 2 fathers were making him feel divided. Did Caleb tell you that? He said he hated everyone arguing. Again, adult conflict had become a child's preference. What did Mark say? That as long as Caleb called Nathan Dad, he felt like there was no place for him. I leaned back. And you accepted that. I was scared Mark would disappear again. There it was. Not cruelty, fear. If somebody had to be pushed out, I said, you chose the man you thought was less likely to disappear on his own. Sarah became quiet. Yes. That made terrible sense. What about the forged email 3 months ago? I didn't write it. You still had access. Technically, maybe. Your phone number was recovery. I forgot about that. Your email too. Yes. The old laptop? I traded it in last winter. That was inconvenient. When? January? The fake email had been sent in March, so the old laptop was gone before the forged message. What about your iPad? I have one. Did you use Nathan's old Gmail on it? Not in years. Can you prove that? No. At least she did not pretend. Then she said, You need to ask Erin what she asked me 6 weeks ago. My grip tightened on the phone. What did she ask? Sarah was quiet for a moment. She asked me to help Caleb understand that contacting Nathan was going to hurt people. I looked at Maggie. She had heard. What people? Her daughter. Nathan. Her marriage. Did she say Nathan wanted no contact? Yes. My chest tightened. Those words? Close. Do you still have the messages? Yes. Send them to Erin first. They're hers. Sarah surprised me with that boundary. I'll tell her you mentioned them. After we hung up, I called Erin. She answered immediately. Sarah called you. Yes. Dad, she is trying to make this my fault. I did not ask whose fault it is. She lied to Nathan for years. She did. She probably wrote the email. Maybe. We still don't know. Erin became angry. What did she tell you? That 6 weeks ago you asked her to help keep Caleb away from Nathan. Silence. Is that true? I asked her to talk to him. About what? About boundaries. Whose? Dad. Send me the conversation. No. That answer came fast. I waited. She said, those were private messages. Then keep them private. That surprised her. But stop asking me to accept your summary of them. I hung up before I could turn the conversation into an interrogation. 20 minutes later, Molly called. Her voice was small. Grandpa? Hey, kiddo. Can I ask you something without you telling Mom I asked? That question always sounds harmless until you remember it makes you a participant. I can listen first, then I'll tell you if it's something I can't keep private. Okay. She hesitated. Is Nathan going to leave us? I closed my eyes. Why do you think that? Mom asked me something a few weeks ago. What? She asked if I'd be upset if someone from Nathan's old family started being around. I sat straighter. What did you say? I asked if she meant his ex-wife. What did she say? No. She said there was a kid Nathan used to help raise. When was this? Like a month ago, before the wedding. What else did she ask? If it would feel weird if Nathan cared about him like family. I said nothing. Molly continued. I said yes. Her voice cracked. I didn't know she meant Caleb. You didn't know anything. I said I didn't want things changing again. There it was. The fear Erin had been carrying, and part of the permission she had apparently given herself. Mom got really quiet, Molly said. Then she said I didn't have to worry about it. I looked out the car window. What do you think now? I think she made a decision because of me. No, but I said, you answered a question without being given the facts. That's still an answer. It is not responsibility. She became quiet. Then she said, I want Nathan to have whoever he loves. Simple. 17 years old. More room in her answer than most of the adults had managed. That evening, Erin finally sent me screenshots of her conversation with Sarah. Not all of it. Enough. One message stood out. Erin had written, I need Caleb to understand that Nathan has built a stable family, and reopening this now could hurt Molly badly. Sarah replied, I understand. I spent years trying to get him to accept that Nathan moved on. Then Erin, please don't send Nathan any of Caleb's old emails before the wedding. I need to get through this first. I read that line twice. 6 weeks before the ceremony, my daughter had known there were old messages Nathan had never seen. She had not forged them. She had not created the original separation. But she had deliberately asked the woman who caused it to keep the evidence away from Nathan until after Erin had secured the future she was afraid of losing. And my advice to Nathan that morning had shown me how easy it was to become part of the same pattern. See, all you had to do was believe your reason for delaying someone else's truth was more important than their right to receive it. All you had to do was believe your reason for delaying someone else's truth was more important than their right to receive it. The next morning, Nathan called before 8. I'm in the account. For a second, I did not understand. The Gmail? Yes. How? Sarah helped with recovery. That surprised me. Voluntarily? Eventually. Maggie was pouring coffee. I put the phone on speaker after telling Nathan. What did you find? She asked. Nathan took a breath. Caleb's emails are here. All 11? More than 11. I stopped with my coffee halfway to my mouth. How many? 17. The forwarded messages Caleb had sent over the weekend were only the ones he remembered well enough to locate. There were others. One from when he was 14 asking whether Nathan still had the baseball glove they used in the backyard. One 6 months later saying he had gotten his learner's permit. Another after Mark missed the planned weekend. Another after Sarah remarried briefly and divorced again. There were photographs attached to some, school awards, a broken wrist, a dog Caleb apparently adopted at 15, normal pieces of a boy's life sent toward a man he believed had chosen not to answer. Were they opened? I asked. Nathan became quiet. Yes. That changed everything. How do you know? Some are marked read. That can happen accidentally. I know. Anything else? There was a filter. I put down the mug. What kind? Nathan said. Anything from Caleb's email address skipped the inbox and went into a folder. What folder? He hesitated. Archive. Not deleted. Hidden. That distinction mattered. When was the filter created? I can't see an exact creation date from what I'm looking at. Then don't guess. I'm not. He sounded exhausted. But it explains why I didn't see anything when I checked the account occasionally. Did you ever look in the archive? No, Maggie asked. Who created the filter? I don't know yet. That was the correct answer. Nathan continued. There's something else. I heard keyboard clicks. The password changed on March 7th. 3 months earlier, the fake reply to Caleb had been sent March 8th. Recovery method? I asked. Backup email. Sarah's? Yes. Maggie looked at me. That was closer to proof. Not complete. Close. Does Sarah know you found that? Yes. What did she say? Nathan was silent long enough that I knew the answer had finally changed. She admitted it. Maggie sat down. The email? Yes. Nathan's voice sounded empty rather than angry. Sarah sent it. There was the answer we had been circling since the wedding. No mysterious hacker. No stranger. No complicated technical scheme. A woman who had once shared Nathan's passwords still controlled the recovery address on an abandoned account. Caleb wrote to that account. Sarah reset the password, opened the message, and answered as Nathan. Why? I asked. Nathan gave a bitter laugh. The same reason as everything else. Mark? Yes. Apparently Caleb had written in March because Mark had canceled 3 visits in 2 months. Not disappeared entirely, just become unreliable again. Caleb was angry and hurt. He wrote Nathan a long email saying he was 17 now and tired of everybody deciding who counted as family. He asked whether Nathan would meet him for coffee. Sarah saw it. She panicked. According to Nathan, she told him she believed Caleb was using Nathan whenever he was disappointed in Mark. She thought if I came back, Nathan said, Mark would disappear again. So she answered for you. Yes. What exactly did she think would happen after the fake reply? That Caleb would stop waiting for me. Maggie shook her head. She wanted to remove the option. That's exactly what she said. I asked. What about the filter? Nathan went quiet again. She made that too. I looked at Maggie. For how long? About 4 years. There it was. The recent forgery was not an isolated act committed during one bad week. Sarah had been intercepting the relationship since the divorce. Not every contact. Nathan's occasional phone calls still reached Caleb's number. The mailed Christmas card remained unexplained, but Caleb's emails had been automatically moved away from Nathan's inbox. Nathan had not abandoned 17 messages knowingly. He had failed in other ways. He had accepted Sarah's interpretation too easily. He had stopped calling after being told a 13-year-old wanted space. He had allowed 4 years to pass without finding another way to verify that boy's wishes. Those were real failures. They were different from reading Caleb's messages and choosing silence. Sarah had made sure he never got that choice. Did she explain why she didn't delete the emails? I asked. Nathan sounded surprised. No. It matters. Why? Deleting would mean deciding they should disappear. Archiving let her tell herself she was only postponing them. Maggie looked at me. That sounds familiar. It did. Aaron had asked Sarah not to send the old messages until after the wedding. Different woman. Different decade of her life. Same comforting word. Later. Nathan said, "There's one more thing you need to know." I already disliked the sentence. Sarah told Aaron. When? 6 weeks ago. I leaned back. Told her what? That she sent the March email. Maggie closed her eyes. Are you certain? Sarah says Aaron confronted her after Caleb sent Aaron a screenshot. That fit the timeline. Caleb contacted Aaron because he wanted to know whether Nathan truly wanted him gone. Aaron contacted Sarah. Sarah initially repeated the old story that Nathan had moved on, But Aaron apparently noticed something in the wording of the forged email that did not sound like Nathan, so she pushed. Sarah admitted she had sent it. And Aaron knew? I asked. Yes. Before she met Caleb at the wedding? Yes. Before she told him Nathan had a different life now? Yes. Nathan's voice broke slightly. She knew the rejection wasn't mine. I did not have an answer for that. Because until that moment, I had believed my daughter's worst decision was not verifying enough. I thought she had been afraid to ask Nathan whether he wrote the email. That was wrong. She had verified. She got the answer, then hid it. What did Aaron say when you confronted her? I haven't. That surprised me. She's upstairs. You called me before talking to your wife? Yes. Why? Nathan was quiet. Because I don't trust myself to have the conversation yet. That was reasonable. Then he said, and because I wanted to know whether Sarah had told you something different. She didn't tell me she confessed to Aaron. Exactly. There were still people protecting one another through partial truths, even now. I said, talk to Aaron directly. I will. And do not turn me into the person you use to verify everything she says. I know. Do you? Nathan exhaled. Yes. We hung up. 15 minutes later, Aaron called. I let it ring once. Maggie said, remember she is your daughter. I know. That was not permission to protect her. I know that too, I answered. Aaron did not say hello. She told him. Yes. You already knew? I knew before you called. How? Nathan. She began crying. Dad, I was going to tell him. When? After the wedding. I looked at Maggie. Her face said what mine probably did. Why after? Because everything was already paid for. Family had flown in. Molly was excited. We had spent a year planning. That explains why postponing felt attractive. It was one weekend. No, I kept my voice quiet. It was one weekend to you. To Nathan, it was 6 weeks of believing there was nothing important you were hiding. To Caleb, it was 6 weeks of believing Nathan had rejected him. Aaron cried harder. I didn't write the email. I know. I didn't create the filter. I know. I didn't separate them 4 years ago. I know. Then stop talking to me like I did. I'm not. You sound like you are. Because you found out the separation was based on lies and decided to preserve the result. Silence. That sentence hurt her. I heard it. It was still true. I thought Sarah had done something terrible, Aaron said. She did. And then I met Caleb through messages and realized how unstable all of it was. What was unstable? He wanted Nathan back immediately. He wanted to speak to him. He sent long messages. He asked about visiting. He wanted to know where we lived. Did that frighten you? Yes. At least she said it. Why? Because Nathan would have said yes to everything. Did you ask him? No. Then you were afraid of the answer you imagined. Yes. Her voice became very small. I had spent years getting Molly to trust that our life wasn't going to fall apart again. Caleb did not make your first marriage fail. I know. He did not make Paul inconsistent with Molly. I know. He did not make Nathan love you less. I know that too. Then what exactly did his existence threaten? Aaron stopped crying long enough to answer. My place? That was the first time she had said it so plainly. Not Molly. Not the wedding. Not Sarah. My place in what? I asked. In Nathan's life. I said nothing. She continued. When he talked about Caleb before, he talked like somebody had died. That was a striking sentence. He kept a box in the garage. Baseball stuff. School pictures. A Father's Day card Caleb made when he was 8. I had never known. He never threw any of it away, Aaron said. And that bothered you? No, not until Caleb showed up again. He had not shown up yet. You know what I mean? I did. The messages made the old relationship real again. Yes. And you were afraid Nathan would discover he still felt like Caleb's father, Aaron whispered. Yes. I thought about Nathan outside the hotel saying the words before correcting himself. My son. He was. The correction had been for adults. The first answer was probably the honest one. What did Sarah ask you to do after she admitted forging the email? Aaron took a long breath. She asked me not to tell Nathan. Why? She said Caleb was finally close to Mark again, that exposing everything would destroy whatever relationship they had left. And you agreed. Not at first. What changed? I talked to Molly. There it was. the conversation my granddaughter had already told me about. You asked Molly how she would feel if somebody from Nathan's old family came back. Yes. Without telling her who. Yes. She said she was afraid things would change. Yes. And that became your permission. Aaron did not answer. Did you tell Sarah that? Yes. Did you tell her Molly had asked you to keep Caleb away? No. Good. At least she had not gone that far. But Aaron had taken a frightened teenager's abstract answer and used it to reinforce the decision she already wanted. Exactly what Sarah had done with Caleb 4 years earlier. A child says, "I don't want everybody fighting." An adult hears, "Remove Nathan." Another child says, "I don't want things changing again." Another adult hears, "Keep Caleb away." Different words. Same mistake. Children describing fear were being treated as if they had chosen the solution. Did you ask Caleb not to come to the wedding? Yes. When? 3 days before. What did he say? That he only wanted 5 minutes. To give Nathan the letter? Yes. And you told him no? Yes. Did you tell him the March email was fake? Aaron became completely silent. I already knew. No, she whispered. That was the midpoint of the story for me. Sarah had forged an email. Serious, ugly, understandable only in the limited sense that fear can explain terrible judgment without excusing it. But my daughter had discovered the forgery and then looked at the teenager harmed by it and allowed him to continue believing it was real. She had not created the first lie. She had become its custodian. Dad, say something. I looked out the kitchen window. Maggie stood across from me with both hands around her coffee. What do you want me to say? That I'm not a horrible person. I don't think you're a horrible person, Aaron cried. Then why does it sound like you do? Because being a decent person does not make every decent person's decision decent. She went quiet. I continued. You were scared? Yes. You wanted your marriage protected? Yes. You wanted Molly protected? Yes. You did not want to begin your wedding by watching Nathan discover he had been lied to for 4 years. No. All of that is understandable. I paused. And none of it gave you the right to let Caleb believe Nathan rejected him. Aaron did not argue. That told me she had finally reached the part of the truth she could no longer organize into something easier. Before hanging up, she said, Nathan wants to go see him. Then I hope this time somebody asks Caleb what he wants. He already did. And, Aaron swallowed, he said yes. That afternoon, Nathan drove to meet the boy he had not seen in 4 years. Aaron did not go. Sarah did not go. Mark was furious and stayed away. For once, the adults who had spent years translating Caleb's feelings were not invited to explain him. And my daughter remained in the house she had been so afraid of destabilizing, waiting to learn whether the marriage she tried to protect through silence could survive the truth she had kept outside it. Nathan did not call me while he was with Caleb. That was probably wise. For nearly 4 hours, I heard nothing from him, Aaron, or Molly. Then, a little after 7, my daughter called. He's not coming home tonight. Did Nathan tell you that? Yes. Where is he staying? A hotel near Richmond. That was not where I expected Caleb to be. I thought Sarah lived in Fredericksburg. She does. Why Richmond? Caleb asked Nathan to meet him there. Why? Aaron sounded tired. Because Mark doesn't know the area as well. I sat down. So Caleb was worried Mark would show up. Yes. That was what years of adults fighting over him had taught the boy to think about before meeting someone he loved. Not whether the conversation would go well, where to meet so nobody could interrupt it. What happened? I asked. I don't know all of it. Nathan didn't tell you? He said it was Caleb's conversation too. That was a boundary I respected. Aaron did not. I'm his wife. You are. I'm supposed to know what is happening in his life. Knowing is different from owning every conversation. She went quiet. Then she said, he told me one thing. What? Caleb asked why he never came looking for him. I could hear the pain in her voice, even though the question had not been aimed at her. What did Nathan say? That he thought Caleb wanted him gone. And Caleb? He said, you knew where I lived. I closed my eyes. Simple questions are dangerous because they strip away the explanation adults have spent years building. Nathan had been lied to. That was true. Sarah had filtered Caleb's emails. True. She had falsely told Nathan the boy wanted distance. True. But Caleb had lived in the same house for most of those 4 years. Nathan knew the address. He knew the school. He knew Sarah's phone number. He had accepted the silence because the alternative was conflict he had no legal standing to win. Understandable. Still a choice. What did Nathan say to that? He told Caleb he was afraid Sarah would accuse him of interfering. That was probably true. He also said he was afraid Caleb would reject him directly. There it was, the part that belonged to Nathan. Not Sarah, not Aaron, him. Aaron said, Caleb asked whether that meant Nathan was protecting himself. I waited. And? Nathan said yes. I looked toward Maggie across our kitchen. She had been reading. Now she lowered the book. What's wrong? She mouthed. I held up one finger. Aaron continued. Dad, I know I made mistakes, but Nathan is acting like all of this happened to him. Is he? Yes. He just told Caleb he protected himself by staying away. That's one sentence. It sounds like an important one. He still had his email hidden from him. Yes. Sarah lied. Yes. I lied. Yes. So why are you defending him? I almost answered too quickly. Because Nathan had been wronged. Because my daughter had hidden the truth. Because those were facts. But Maggie had warned me about becoming the reasonable man everybody used to stop the uncomfortable thing. There was another version of that danger. Becoming the reasonable man who selected the person he thought deserved the most sympathy and built everything around that. I'm not defending him, I said. I'm trying not to replace one oversimplified story with another. Aaron became quiet. What does that mean? It means Sarah lied to Nathan, and Nathan also stopped trying. You hid what you knew, and you were also afraid. Mark felt displaced, and he also asked a child to solve that discomfort by reducing another father figure. More than one person can be wrong in the same family. She gave a tired laugh. You really miss being a principal. Not even slightly. That was mostly true. My phone buzzed while we were still talking. A text from Molly. Can I come stay with you for a few days? I stared at it. Aaron noticed my silence. What? Molly just texted. What did she say? I hesitated. Not because I wanted to keep it from Aaron, because Molly had asked me earlier to listen before deciding what could stay private. What did she say, Dad? She wants to stay with us for a few days. Aaron inhaled sharply. No, that is a quick answer. She just got home from the wedding. School starts next week. We need to be together. Does she? Yes. Or do you need her there? Silence. Then Aaron said, You're turning her against me. No. You told her about Caleb. She already knew enough to ask whether Nathan was leaving. You told her more. I answered what she asked. How much? I heard fear again. Not anger. Fear that another relationship was moving outside the boundary she could manage. I am not discussing Molly's private conversation with you line by line. She is my daughter, and if there is something affecting her safety or something you genuinely need to know, I will tell you. You don't get to decide that. I almost laughed at the irony. Then I stopped, because irony rarely helps the person living inside it. You are right, I said. That surprised her. What? I should not decide by myself. I'll ask Molly what she is comfortable having me share. Aaron did not respond. Can she come? I asked. My daughter cried quietly for several seconds. I don't want her thinking she has to leave because Nathan and I are having problems. Then tell her that. She'll think I'm manipulating her. Maybe because you keep deciding what she will think before she gets to think it. That's cruel. No, I softened my voice. It's the pattern. That hurt her. But she said, Fine. Molly arrived the next afternoon. Aaron drove her. Nathan was still in Richmond. Molly brought one duffel bag, her laptop, and the battered stuffed rabbit she had owned since she was 5, but would deny still sleeping with, if asked under oath. Aaron stood in my driveway while Molly carried the bag inside. 3 days, she said. Molly turned. Mom, I'm just saying, I know. I love you. I love you too. Aaron looked relieved. Then she said, Nathan loves you too. Molly's face changed. I know. I don't want you thinking Caleb changes that. Mom, stop. Aaron froze. Molly spoke carefully. You keep telling me what I don't have to worry about after you already used me being worried as a reason to do something? Aaron's eyes filled. I was trying to understand how you'd feel. No, you were trying to decide what to do with Caleb. That isn't fair. It's exactly what you asked me about. Maggie stepped out onto the porch. Not to stop them, just to make sure neither forgot where they were. Molly continued. If you had told me Nathan raised him and somebody had been keeping them apart, I would have answered differently. Erin wiped her face. I know. You didn't give me enough information. I know. So stop saying I was part of the decision. That sentence landed harder than anything I could have said. Erin nodded. All right. Then she got into her car and left. I watched her until the taillights disappeared. Molly stood beside me. I feel bad. That doesn't mean you were wrong. She looked terrible. She probably feels terrible. I don't want her to. That is not a job available to you. Molly looked at me. That sounded very grandpa. Occupational damage. She smiled faintly. That evening, Nathan finally called. He sounded exhausted. Caleb and I talked for 6 hours. I did not ask for details. What matters? He was quiet. He doesn't trust me. That seems predictable. I thought once he knew the emails were hidden, he'd understand. Understand what? That I didn't abandon him. I sat down in the den. Nathan, he asked why you didn't come looking. I know. The email filter explains why you didn't answer emails. It doesn't explain 4 years. I know that now. There was humility in the answer. Then he said, he showed me something. What? A voicemail. I waited. From me. When? 4 years ago, about a month after I stopped calling. That did not make sense at first. What voicemail? I called him from my work phone because Sarah had blocked my number on his phone. I sat straighter. You never mentioned that? I forgot. Did Caleb answer? No. What did you say? Nathan took a long breath. I told him I understood if he needed space. I told him I wasn't going to keep putting him in the middle. I said if he ever wanted me, he knew how to find me. I closed my eyes. There it was. A sentence Nathan had probably meant as respect. A 13-year-old could hear something else. You know how to find me. Responsibility transferred. What did Caleb think? That I was done trying. Did you call after that? No. Why? I thought I was honoring what he wanted. And protecting yourself. Yes. That mattered because it weakened the cleanest version of Nathan's innocence. Sarah had engineered the separation, but Nathan had eventually participated in maintaining it because the alternative required risk. Risk of Sarah fighting him. Risk of Mark accusing him of interference. Risk of Caleb saying no. What did Caleb say today? He asked why adults always told him space was for him when they were the ones who wanted it. I looked toward the kitchen. Molly sat at the island doing something on her laptop. Another teenager who had been given partial facts and then asked to carry the meaning adults assigned to her answers. Nathan continued. He said he doesn't want me calling him my son. That hurt even through the phone. What does he want? He said he doesn't know yet. Then believe him this time. Nathan became quiet. I told him I would. Good. There's more. Of course there was. Mark showed up. I straightened. At the meeting? Near the end. How did he find you? Caleb's phone. Location sharing? Apparently. Did Caleb know? No. That was its own problem. What happened? Mark came into the restaurant angry. Told me I had no right to confuse Caleb again. Did you argue? Yes. I sighed. Not my finest hour. What did Caleb do? He stood up and told both of us to shut up. Despite everything, I almost smiled. Accurate? Very. Nathan sounded ashamed. He said he was tired of men proving they loved him by arguing about who had the right to. That sentence stayed with me. What did Mark say? Nothing at first. And then? He said, I'm his father. I already knew the problem with that answer. What did Caleb say? Nathan's voice lowered. He said, then act like one without needing him to disappear. I closed my eyes. That was not the deepest betrayal. Not yet. But it was the point where the adults lost the ability to pretend the boy was the confused one. Mark left. Caleb stayed another 20 minutes. Then he asked Nathan not to contact him for a week. This time Nathan asked one question. Do you mean a week? Caleb said yes. No translation. No Sarah. No Erin. No me. A specific request from the person whose feelings everybody had been interpreting for years. Nathan said, so I'm waiting. That sounds different. It feels terrible. Probably. I keep wanting to text him. Don't. I won't. For once, restraint was not abandonment. It was listening. Before we hung up, I asked, what are you doing about Erin? Nathan became quiet. I don't know. She told you the truth? Eventually? That was not the question. No, I waited. She says she wants to fix it. Do you? Another long silence. I love her. That also was not the question. He laughed once. I know. Then he said, I don't know if I can go home and act married while I figure it out. That sounds like something you should tell her. I did. Nathan had booked the Richmond hotel for 3 nights. He was not leaving Aaron. He was not coming home yet either. That evening, Aaron called Maggie instead of me. I was glad. I had become too central. By bedtime, Molly was asleep in the guest room. Nathan was alone in Richmond. Aaron was alone in the house she had been trying so hard to keep stable. And Caleb had finally done something none of the adults had allowed him to do when he was 13. He had told everyone exactly how much distance he wanted. 1 week. Not forever. Not until somebody else decided he was ready. 1 week. The hardest part for all of us was going to be respecting an answer that did not require us to improve it. The week lasted longer than it had any right to. Nathan did not text Caleb. He did not call. He did not ask Sarah for updates. That last one mattered more than I expected. For 4 years, Sarah had been the translator between them. Even after learning what she had done, Nathan's instinct was still to ask her how Caleb was feeling. He caught himself twice. The first time he called me instead. I almost texted Sarah. About what? To ask if he's okay. Do you need to know? Yes. That wasn't the question. He went quiet. No. Then don't. He laughed tiredly. You're enjoying this. Watching another man learn patience? Yes. Immensely. I wasn't. But humor was sometimes the only way to keep advice from turning into authority. Molly stayed with Maggie and me for 4 days, then went home. That was her decision. Aaron arrived Friday afternoon to pick her up, though Molly could have driven herself. My daughter was still looking for legitimate reasons to be useful. I recognized that because I had spent half my life doing the same thing. Before they left, Molly stood beside the passenger door and said, Mom, if Nathan talks to Caleb, I don't need a report every time. Aaron looked surprised. I wasn't going to. Molly gave her a look. Aaron stopped. Okay. And if I ask something, tell me what you actually know. Okay. Molly opened the door, then paused. I'm not mad that Nathan loves him. Aaron's face tightened. I know. No, I need you to actually hear that. My daughter nodded. I hear it. Molly got into the car. Aaron looked at me. For once, she did not ask whether she had handled it correctly. She simply drove home. On the 7th day, at 10:06 in the morning, Caleb texted Nathan. Nathan sent me a screenshot only after asking Caleb whether that was all right. That small detail told me he had learned something. Caleb wrote, I'll talk. Not at Mom's. Nathan. Okay. You choose where. Caleb. Can Aaron come? Nathan told me later he stared at that message for several minutes. He had expected anger toward Sarah, questions for Mark, maybe another conversation about the missing years. He had not expected Caleb to ask for Aaron. Nathan replied, if that's what you want. Caleb, it is. They arranged to meet the following afternoon at a public park in Fredericksburg. Nathan called Aaron. She called me 10 minutes later. He wants me there. I heard. What do you think he wants? That is an excellent question for Caleb. Dad. I don't know. He has to be angry. Probably. What am I supposed to say? The truth. That is not specific enough. It may be the only useful answer I have. She exhaled, then said, Will you come? No. Why? Because he asked for you and Nathan. She became quiet. I don't know if I can do this without somebody there. Yes, you can. What if Nathan turns on me? Then you listen before defending yourself. What if Caleb says something that isn't true? Correct facts if they matter. Don't correct feelings. You make that sound simple. It took me 31 years to learn it badly. She almost laughed. Then her voice changed. There's something I haven't told Nathan. I closed my eyes. Is it something he should know before tomorrow? Yes. Then tell him. Can I tell you first? No. That surprised both of us. Dad? If you tell me first, you get to practice the version on somebody safer. Silence. That's not what I'm doing. Maybe not consciously. She breathed for several seconds. What if I say it wrong? Then you correct it. Another pause. Finally, she said, Okay. Nathan called me that evening. Not immediately after speaking to her. Around 9. His voice sounded controlled in the way people sound when control is costing them. She told me what she said to Caleb. I waited. Before the wedding? Yes. What did she say? Nathan took a breath. Caleb sent her the forged email 6 weeks ago. She contacted Sarah. Sarah eventually admitted she wrote it. We knew that. Then Caleb asked Aaron whether I really wanted him gone. I sat down. And? She didn't tell him the email was fake. Also known. But Nathan continued. She told him, Nathan has worked hard to build a new family, and I think you need to respect that. I closed my eyes, close to the forged email, not identical, close enough. What did Caleb say? He asked if those were my words. And Aaron? She said, I know how Nathan feels about protecting what he has now. That was worse. Not because she explicitly lied, because she allowed authority to fill the empty space. Nathan's fiancée, soon-to-be wife, the person Caleb assumed knew Nathan better than he did. What else? Nathan's voice became quieter. Caleb asked whether I ever talked about him. Did Aaron answer? Yes. She said, not the way you probably hope. I stared at the wall. I remembered asking Aaron the morning after the wedding how often Nathan mentioned Caleb. Her answer had been, sometimes. Now I understood why she had looked away. What was true? Nathan asked. What? How much did I talk about him? That is your answer. He was quiet. More than Aaron let Caleb believe. There it was. He told me about the box in the garage, the Father's Day card, pictures, a baseball glove, a wooden sign Caleb made in 5th grade shop class with Nathan's garage burned crookedly into it. Nathan had told Aaron stories. Not every week. Not obsessively. Enough that she knew Caleb was not some closed chapter he barely remembered. She knew I still loved him, Nathan said. Yes. And she told him I didn't talk about him. She told him not the way he hoped. That's lawyer language. No, I thought of my daughter. That's scared person language. Nathan became quiet. I don't know if that makes it better. It doesn't. The next afternoon they met Caleb. I was not there. That was important. Everything I know about that conversation came later, separately, from Nathan, Aaron, and eventually Caleb himself. Their accounts differed in small details. The important parts matched. Caleb arrived first. He was sitting at a picnic table beside a paved walking trail. No letter this time. No envelope. Just his phone. Nathan sat across from him. Aaron sat at the end. For several minutes, nobody spoke. Then Caleb looked at Aaron. Why didn't you tell me? She did not pretend not to understand. I was afraid. Of me? No. Then of what? Aaron said. Of what would happen if Nathan knew. Caleb looked at Nathan, then back at her. What would happen? I thought he would want you back in his life immediately. Nathan apparently flinched at the word back. Caleb noticed. You did? Yes, Nathan said. Caleb looked at Aaron again. So you were right. Yes. That was one of the hardest truths. Aaron's prediction had been correct. Her method was still wrong. Caleb asked, Did you think he would leave you? Aaron told me later she wanted to say no. Instead, she said, Part of me did. Nathan did not interrupt. Caleb frowned. For me? For what you represented. What does that mean? Aaron looked down at her hands. That there was a whole part of Nathan's life that existed before me and still mattered enough to change our plans. Caleb gave a bitter little laugh. I'm a person. I know. No, you keep saying that after you talk about me like weather. That sentence stayed with Aaron. She repeated it to me, word for word. Caleb unlocked his phone. He brought up their messages from 6 weeks earlier, not to trap her, to ask about one specific exchange. Caleb had written, If the email wasn't really how he feels, I need to know. Aaron answered, I think you should focus on the family you have right now. Nathan is doing the same. Nathan had never seen that message. He asked Aaron, Why did you say I was doing that? She answered, Because I wanted you to. No one spoke for a while. That was the deeper truth. Aaron had not only hidden information, she had converted her preference into Nathan's position. The same thing Sarah had done years earlier. Caleb says he wants space. Nathan thinks distance is best. Nathan is focusing on his new family. Molly does not want things changing. Every adult kept taking another person's uncertainty and finishing the sentence for them. Caleb scrolled farther. 3 days before the wedding, he had written, I'm coming Saturday. I won't make a scene. I just want to give him the letter. Aaron, please don't. Caleb, If he really wants nothing to do with me, I'll leave after. I just want to hear it from him once. Aaron, you need to respect his wedding day. Caleb, does he know I'm asking? There was a 6-minute gap. Aaron finally replied, no. Caleb, then how do you know what he wants? Aaron never answered. Instead, on the wedding morning, Caleb messaged again. I'm here, 5 minutes, that's all. That was why Aaron met him by the stone wall, and that changed the photograph for me. When Lucas first showed it to me, I thought I was looking at evidence of a secret relationship. Later, I thought I was looking at Aaron trying to prevent a disruption. Now I knew I was looking at the moment Caleb gave her one final chance to tell Nathan the truth before the ceremony. What did you say to him there? Nathan asked. Aaron cried. I said you deserved one day without being dragged backward. Caleb looked at her. Backward. I'm sorry. You said I was something he survived. I didn't mean it that way. But that's how you said it. Nathan stood and walked several feet away, not leaving, just needing space nobody had assigned for him. Caleb looked at Aaron. Do you know why I went around the greenhouse? She shook her head. Because you told me he didn't want me there. Aaron cried harder. I thought if I saw him and he looked at me like he didn't want me, I could stop. That was why he had gone, not to sabotage the wedding, not to reclaim a father. To verify a rejection everyone kept telling him was already settled. Nathan came back to the table. Caleb said, You looked happy to see me. Nathan's voice broke. I was. That made everything worse. I know. Caleb looked down. Because then I knew somebody had lied. Not which person, not yet. Only that the truth did not match the life he had been asked to accept. Aaron apologized. Not once, not dramatically. She said, I knew Sarah wrote the email, and I should have told both of you immediately. I didn't because I was afraid of losing the life I had built. Caleb asked, Was Molly really afraid of me? Aaron closed her eyes. She was afraid of things changing. Did she know who I was? No. So you used her answer too? Yes. That was the first time Aaron said it without qualification. When Nathan told me that part, I sat quietly for a long time. My daughter had spent weeks insisting she was protecting Molly. Now she finally understood she had also used Molly's fear as borrowed authority. Caleb did not forgive her at the picnic table. He did not demand Nathan divorce her. He did something much more uncomfortable. He said, I don't know what I want from either of you yet. Then he left. Nathan and Aaron remained at that table for nearly an hour. When they finally stood, Aaron asked if he was coming home. Nathan said not that night. She nodded. No argument. No reminder that they were married now. No request that he reassure her. That evening she called me. I think I became Sarah. No, she cried. Dad, I did the same thing. You made the same kind of mistake. What's the difference? You get to decide what you do after recognizing it. She was quiet. I don't know if Nathan will forgive me. You don't control that. I know. This time when she said it, she sounded like she actually did. Then she told me something I had not heard before. 6 weeks ago, after Sarah admitted the email was fake, she asked me one question. What? She said, If Nathan knows before the wedding, are you sure he'll still marry you on Saturday? I felt my chest tighten. What did you say? Aaron did not answer immediately. When she did, her voice was barely above a whisper. I said, That's why he can't know before Saturday. And with that, the problem was no longer only that my daughter had been afraid of losing her place in Nathan's family. For at least one moment, she had understood the truth might affect whether he chose to marry her at all. And she made sure he took the vows before he had the information that might have changed his choice. I did not tell her Nathan would understand. I did not tell her he would forgive her. And I did not tell her the marriage would survive. Those were exactly the kinds of answers our family kept manufacturing for other people. Instead, I asked, Does Nathan know you said that to Sarah? Yes. When did you tell him? Before Caleb asked us to meet. So he knew when he sat at that picnic table. Yes. That explains something. Nathan had not only been listening to Caleb describe what Aaron kept from him, he had been sitting beside the woman who knew, before the vows, that the information might affect whether he wanted to make them. What did he say when you told him? Aaron's voice shook. He asked whether I would have gone through with the wedding if the situation were reversed. What did you say? I couldn't answer. Couldn't or didn't? Didn't. That was honest. Then answer it for yourself before you ask him to forgive you. She cried quietly. I don't think I would have. Neither did I. That was the point where I stopped seeing the problem as something Nathan and Aaron could repair with one difficult weekend. There had to be a slower process. Not punishment, not revenge. Just enough time that nobody could hide uncertainty underneath urgency again. 2 days later, Nathan called me. I want everybody's version in one place. I knew what he meant. Everybody? Sarah, Mark, Aaron, me. What about Caleb? Only if he wants to be there. And Molly? No. Good. What are you planning? Nothing dramatic. That is usually what people say before dramatic things. He laughed faintly. I'm serious. I'm tired of conversations where one person tells me what somebody else meant. That I understood. Nathan had created a timeline. Not an accusation, a timeline. He used Sarah's old texts, Caleb's 17 emails, the Gmail recovery history, the filter, the forged March reply, Aaron's messages with Sarah, Aaron's messages with Caleb, and the wedding photographs Lucas had taken. What do you need me for? I asked. Caleb wants you there. That surprised me. Why? He said you're the only person who admitted giving him the wrong advice, without explaining why it was technically reasonable. I sat quietly. That sounded more generous than I deserved. I told him I'm not neutral. He knows. Did you tell him I'm Aaron's father? He was at the wedding, Frank. Fair, Nathan continued. He doesn't want a mediator. He doesn't want therapy language. He wants one conversation where nobody says what somebody else wanted unless they can show where that person actually said it. That sounded less like a 17-year-old lawyer than a 17-year-old who had finally become tired of being paraphrased. The meeting happened the following Saturday in a private room at a public library in Fredericksburg. Nothing elegant about it. Folding tables, plastic chairs, a whiteboard with old marker stains. Nathan arrived first, then Aaron. They came separately. Sarah brought Caleb but did not sit beside him. Mark arrived last. He looked about 50, broad-shouldered, with the posture of a man who expected a confrontation and had prepared himself not to lose one. I sat near the end of the table. Caleb remained standing until everyone was there. Then he said, I want one rule. Nobody interrupted. If you say I wanted something, show me where I said it or ask me. Sarah looked down. Mark crossed his arms. Nathan nodded. Aaron whispered, Okay. Caleb sat. Nathan opened his laptop. He did not begin with the fake email. He began 4 years earlier, the last phone conversation. Caleb saying he did not know whether Nathan should keep calling. Nathan telling him he would give him space. Then Sarah's text to Nathan. He told me he wants space. Sarah read it on the screen. I wrote that. Caleb asked, Did I tell you that? Sarah looked at him. No. What did I tell you? That you wanted everybody to stop fighting. So why did you tell Nathan I wanted space from him? Sarah took a breath. Because Mark had started coming around consistently again. Mark shifted in his chair. Caleb turned toward him. Did you tell Mom Nathan had to go? Mark's first answer was defensive. I didn't say it like that. Caleb waited. Mark looked at Sarah, then at Nathan. I told your mother I didn't know how I was supposed to rebuild a relationship with you when you still treated Nathan like your father. That's not an answer. Mark's jaw tightened. Then he said, Yes, I want a distance between you. Why? Because I felt replaced. The room became very quiet. Mark continued, I was your biological father, and I walked into school events where teachers assumed Nathan was your dad because he was the one they knew. Caleb said, Whose fault was that? Mark looked down. Mine. That was the first time I saw some of the fight leave him. I missed years I shouldn't have missed. Yes, I was ashamed. Caleb waited. And Nathan being there reminded you? Yes. No speech, no excuse, just the answer. Then Sarah described what she did. She told Nathan Caleb wanted distance. She told Caleb Nathan believed distance was better. She created the Gmail filter because Caleb kept writing after she thought contact had ended. Caleb stared at her. You read them? Some. How many? I don't know. Nathan turned the laptop. The messages showed read status on 8. Sarah closed her eyes. At least 8. Caleb's voice changed. You read 8 emails I wrote him. Yes. And then put them where he wouldn't see them. Yes. Why not delete them? Sarah looked surprised. I couldn't. That was the answer I had suspected. Why? Caleb asked. because deleting them felt like destroying something that belonged to you. Nathan spoke for the first time. But hiding them didn't? Sarah looked at him. I told myself you could see them later. When? I don't know. Later. There it was again. A word without a date becomes a hiding place. Then they reached March. Sarah admitted resetting Nathan's old Gmail password using her recovery address. She admitted opening Caleb's email. She admitted writing the reply. Caleb asked, "Why sign his name?" Sarah began crying. "Because if it came from me, you would argue. So you needed him to reject me. I thought you needed to stop waiting." Nathan's face tightened. Caleb said, "That wasn't your decision." "No." Sarah did not add anything. That mattered. Then Nathan put Aaron's messages on the screen. My daughter looked as if she wanted to disappear. She did not. Caleb read the conversation where Aaron asked Sarah not to send Nathan the old emails before the wedding. Then the line, "I need to get through this first." Nathan looked at her. "What did this mean? The wedding? You needed to become my wife before I learned the truth." Aaron swallowed. "Yes." Nothing softened that answer. Nathan opened the message Sarah had shown him later. "If Nathan knows before the wedding, are you sure he'll still marry you on Saturday?" Then Aaron's reply. "That's why he can't know before Saturday." Nobody spoke. The evidence had done what shouting could not. There was no argument left about whether Aaron understood the significance. She had. Nathan asked, "If I had known Friday night, what did you think I would do? Postpone? Cancel? Maybe. And you decided I shouldn't have that choice." Aaron began crying. "Yes." He looked at her for several seconds. Then he said, "That is the part I don't know how to forgive yet. Not never. Yet." I saw Aaron hear the distinction. She did not grab it. "Okay." Then Caleb asked to see the wedding photographs. I had not expected that. Nathan pulled up the 3 Lucas sent. First, Aaron beside the stone wall, her hand on Caleb's arm, the envelope marked Dad in his hand. Caleb stared at it. "That was when you told me to leave." Aaron nodded. "Yes." The next image showed Nathan behind the greenhouse, arms around Caleb. Nathan looked at the picture for a long time. So did Caleb. Finally, Caleb said, "You look happy." Nathan's eyes filled. "I was." No interpretation needed. The third image showed Aaron watching through the glass corridor. She looked frightened. Not angry, not cruel, frightened. Caleb leaned closer. "I thought you hated me." Aaron shook her head. "I didn't." "What were you thinking?" She looked at the photograph. "That if Nathan held you like that, I had been right to be afraid." Nathan said nothing. Aaron continued. "And then I hated myself because the first thing I thought wasn't how much he missed you." She wiped her face. "It was what it meant for me." There was the truth. Not that she wanted Caleb harmed, not that she hated a teenager. She had seen evidence that Nathan's love for Caleb had survived the silence, and her first instinct was to measure what that love might cost her. Caleb nodded slowly. "That I can understand." Aaron looked at him. "I'm not saying it was okay. I know." It was the first compassion he offered her. Not forgiveness. Understanding. Different things. Then Nathan surprised everyone. He turned the screen back to the oldest voicemail transcript. "I need to put mine up too." He explained what he had already told Caleb, that he stopped calling, that he told a 13-year-old, in effect, to find him when he was ready, that he accepted Sarah's version, partly because he was afraid of being rejected directly. Mark looked at him. "So you did walk away?" Nathan met his eyes. "Yes." Mark seemed ready to use that. Caleb stopped him. "He just said he did." Mark went quiet. That was the reversal nobody had planned. The conversation did not end with one guilty person exposed and everybody else cleared. It ended with nobody being allowed to hide inside somebody else's mistake. Sarah created the separation. Mark helped create the pressure that motivated it. Nathan accepted distance too easily because it protected him from rejection and conflict. Aaron discovered the lie and preserved it because she feared what the truth would do to her marriage. I had advised delay because I was thinking like an administrator instead of a boy who had already been delayed for 4 years. Different weight, different consequences. Same lesson. Speak for yourself. Ask before deciding for somebody else. When the meeting ended, Caleb set his own terms. He wanted contact with Nathan. Slowly. No promises about what to call him. No pressure to recreate childhood. No secret meetings. No using him in arguments with Mark or Sarah. Nathan agreed. Mark asked, "What about me?" Caleb looked at him. "You're my dad." Mark's face softened. Then Caleb added, "That doesn't mean he has to stop mattering." Mark nodded. It looked difficult. That was fine. Some truths are supposed to remain difficult after they become clear. Sarah agreed to turn over the full email archive and never access Nathan's accounts again. Nathan had already changed every recovery method and password. He chose not to make a police report over the forged email, not because it was harmless, because after preserving the evidence and securing the account, he believed formal punishment would do little to repair the relationship Caleb actually cared about. That was his decision, not mine. Erin and Nathan were the last ones to leave. In the parking lot, she asked him whether he wanted her to come home. Nathan said, "Not yet." She nodded. Then he added, "I'm not deciding our marriage today either." Erin started crying. "I understand." "No." He looked at her. "I need you not to call uncertainty a promise." She wiped her face. "Okay." That afternoon, Caleb sent Lucas Reed a message through the photography company. Lucas checked with Nathan before responding. A few minutes later, Caleb received a high-resolution copy of the greenhouse photograph, the one where Nathan was holding him. No bride, no ceremony, no argument. Just the moment before anybody had time to explain what it meant, Caleb texted Nathan, "Can I keep this one?" Nathan answered, "It's yours." And for once, nobody else decided what that picture was supposed to mean. The photograph stayed on Caleb's phone for a long time before it appeared anywhere else. Nathan did not post it. Erin did not ask Lucas for another copy. For the next 2 months, almost everything that mattered happened without an audience. Nathan rented a furnished apartment 10 minutes from the house he and Erin had bought together. He did not move all his things out. He also did not move back because relatives kept asking whether the wedding was really over. They were still legally married. That fact settled less than people imagined. Nathan met with an attorney once, mostly to understand what choices existed if the marriage could not be repaired. Erin knew about the appointment because he told her beforehand. She did not ask what he discussed. That was new. They started marriage counseling 3 weeks after the library meeting, but their counselor refused to treat the problem as a single bad decision made during wedding stress. Nathan told me that bothered Erin at first. "She keeps wanting to get to the part where I decide whether I forgive her," he said. "And the counselor keeps asking what would be different if I did." That seemed like the right question. Erin had spent years believing stability meant preserving the structure around her. The same house, the same relationships, the planned wedding, the family picture everybody recognized. Now she was learning that a stable relationship could survive an uncomfortable fact, while a carefully protected structure could still be built around somebody else's missing choice. She apologized to Caleb in writing. She mailed the letter through Nathan after asking Caleb first. He kept it. He did not answer for almost a month. When he finally did, his message was 4 lines. He said he believed she was sorry. He was not ready to trust her. He did not want her contacting him through Sarah, and he did not want to be described as part of Nathan's old family. Erin wrote back, "Understood, nothing else." I was proud of her for that. I did not tell her she needed to learn that doing the right thing was not a performance that earned immediate reassurance. Caleb and Nathan rebuilt differently. There was no dramatic restoration of father and son, no weekend where 4 lost years disappeared. At first they met for coffee every other Sunday, then breakfast, then Nathan went to 1 baseball game. He sat 3 rows behind Sarah and Mark because Caleb had assigned the seats that way. Nobody moved. After the game, Mark shook Nathan's hand. It was not warm, it was civil. That counted. Mark did something harder a few months later. He apologized to Caleb for treating Nathan's importance as evidence of his own failure. "I kept thinking if he mattered less, I would matter more," Caleb told me, Mark had said. Caleb's answer was simple. "That's not how it works." Mark kept showing up. Not perfectly. He missed 1 dinner because of work and called before, not after. Caleb noticed. That was the kind of progress 17-year-olds actually trust. Sarah's relationship with Caleb took longer. An apology does not restore access to 17 hidden emails. Caleb changed every password she might know. He removed her from location sharing on his phone. That hurt her. He did not do it to punish her. He told her, "I need some things to be mine." Sarah accepted it badly for about a week and then, according to Caleb, started accepting it better. She also gave Nathan everything she could reconstruct about the old Gmail account, including the filter settings and the March password reset. Nathan preserved it, secured the account, then stopped using the address entirely. Nobody filed a criminal complaint over the forged email. I asked Nathan only once whether he was sure. He said, "I don't need Sarah punished to know what she did was wrong. That was enough." Molly had her own repair to do with Aaron. One evening, about 6 weeks after the wedding, Aaron took her to dinner and apologized for using her fear of change as support for a decision Molly had never actually made. Molly told me later, "Mom kept wanting to explain why she asked me. 'What did you do?' I told her I already understood why." "And?" She stopped. Maggie smiled. "That may be the most expensive dinner your mother ever bought. It was tacos. Emotional price, sweetheart. By Thanksgiving, the family was able to be in one room again. Not everybody. Sarah and Mark were not there. Caleb was. That had been Nathan's invitation, not Aaron's. Before inviting him, Nathan asked Aaron privately whether she was ready, not whether she would allow it, whether she was ready. Aaron told him yes. Then she asked Molly. Molly said, "Why are you asking me?" Aaron answered, "Because you live here too." Molly stared at her for a second. "Okay, then yes." Caleb came for 3 hours. He brought a pecan pie from a grocery store and apologized for not making anything. Maggie told him buying pie was one of civilization's major achievements. He laughed. He called Nathan by his first name all afternoon. Nobody corrected him. At one point, he and Molly stood in the kitchen arguing over whether a movie they both liked had a terrible ending. I watched Aaron watching them. Months earlier, the existence of that relationship would have frightened her. That day, she carried dishes past them and said, "You're both wrong," without trying to manage anything else. Nathan moved home in January. Not because the counselor declared them fixed. He told Aaron he was ready to try living together again. Before carrying the first box inside, he said something she later repeated to me. "I'm not staying because the wedding made the choice for me. I'm choosing the marriage now, knowing what you kept from me," Aaron cried. Then she asked, "What if you change your mind?" Nathan answered, "Then I'll tell you." That was the promise they could actually make. Their marriage changed in small ways. No one used the phrase "protecting you from this" as a substitute for a conversation. If Aaron wanted time before discussing something, she asked for a specific amount. An hour, until morning, after work. Not later. Nathan stopped treating withdrawal as the safest answer whenever conflict became complicated. When he needed space, he said when he would call again. That mattered to Aaron. It mattered even more to Caleb. My own correction was less visible. I stopped assuming that because people asked my advice, I needed to produce a solution. That was difficult. Maggie enjoyed it more than necessary. Once, when Aaron called about whether she should attend one of Caleb's baseball games, I said, "What does Caleb want?" She answered, "I haven't asked." I said, "There you go." Then I hung up before I could add 3 paragraphs. Maggie looked at me across the breakfast table. "Who are you?" Growth. Terrifying. I also apologized to Caleb directly for telling Nathan to wait when he first wanted to drive down. He shrugged. "You were trying to stop everybody fighting." "Yes. That's what they all say." He smiled, but I heard the truth underneath. "I know." He nodded. That was enough. The following spring, Caleb graduated high school. Nathan attended. So did Mark. They sat in the same section because Caleb wanted both of them there, not beside each other. Close enough. When Caleb's name was called, both men stood. Neither looked at the other. Afterward, Sarah took photographs. One with Caleb and Mark. One with Caleb and Nathan. One with all 3. Nobody debated which photograph represented the real family. That question had caused enough damage. Caleb enrolled at a community college near home while deciding whether he wanted to transfer later. He worked part-time at an auto parts store and spent one Saturday helping Nathan replace shelves in the garage. That was when he found the old wooden sign. Nathan's Garage. Crooked letters burned into pine. Caleb had made it in 5th grade. Nathan had kept it through 2 moves and a divorce. Caleb sent me a picture. His text said, "Apparently I was terrible at spacing." I wrote back, "You were 10. Standards were lower." He answered, he kept it. That was all. Some evidence does not need interpretation. On Aaron and Nathan's first anniversary, they did not recreate the wedding. No large dinner, no sentimental social media post. They went back to the venue for lunch because Aaron said she wanted to see the place without feeling afraid of what might appear at the edge of it. Afterward, they stopped near the greenhouse. Lucas had sent Aaron the full gallery months earlier. She had avoided opening that section. That afternoon, she did. There were 43 images taken during the time Caleb was on the property. Most were ordinary. Guests arriving, florists carrying boxes, Molly laughing with one of the bridesmaids, Nathan adjusting his cufflinks. Then the sequence behind the greenhouse, Caleb approaching, Nathan seeing him, Nathan's face changing, the hug, and Aaron through the glass. She called me that evening. I finally looked at all of them. How was that? Awful. Useful? Yes. She was quiet. Then she said, I asked Caleb if we could put one in the wedding album. That surprised me. Which one? The hug. What did he say? He said yes, if Nathan wanted it too. And Nathan? He said it belongs there because it happened that day. So the photograph that nearly exposed their marriage before it began became part of the official record of the wedding. Not hidden in a separate envelope. Not cropped. Not explained with a caption, just Nathan in a tuxedo holding a 17-year-old boy who had come to find out whether he had ever really been wanted. A few weeks later, Aaron showed me the finished album. The greenhouse photograph was near the middle. On the facing page was the picture Lucas had taken seconds later. Aaron stood behind the glass, watching. She had considered removing that one. Then she left it. I don't like who I was in that moment, she said. You were scared. I was also wrong. Yes. She ran one finger along the edge of the page. I used to think a good family photo was one where nobody could see the problem. I looked at the two images. What do you think now? She closed the album. That I'd rather know what was outside the frame. I thought about the photographer pulling me into that hallway on the wedding day. At first, I believed he had shown me evidence of a secret. He had, just not the one I expected. The secret was not that Nathan had a son nobody knew about. It was how many adults had spent years deciding what two people were allowed to mean to each other. And in the end, the photograph did not destroy my daughter's marriage. It gave everyone one thing they could no longer rewrite. Nathan saw Caleb. Nathan held him. Aaron saw it too. Everything after that had to begin with what was actually there. If you learned that your spouse had hidden a truth before your wedding because they feared you might not marry them if you knew it, could trust ever be rebuilt without pretending that choice was taken from you? If family mysteries about difficult truths, careful judgment, and quiet strength speak to you, you're always welcome at the Watchful Father.